I got a quick little video for you guys, and it's gonna be a little bit of a winter prep checklist. I usually make these videos, and I was gonna make this one, and then we had a huge storm hit New England in the Boston area a little bit sooner, and for the last like 2.5 weeks, there's been snow and ice on the ground, so I haven't even been filming, so I'm playing catch up, and obviously it's freezing, it's like 10 degrees right now. I'm really cold, but I wanna make this video because obviously you guys probably don't see every year's video, but this is gonna be a quick checklist. If you own a Subaru, a WRX, a Subaru WRX, or basically any car, for what you need to do if you live in an area that could be wintry or even potentially experience snow, because you'd be surprised, even areas that don't regularly get snow, they put treatment down on the road and they put salt down on the road just in case, even if you don't normally get snow. So this is for the vast majority of folks that live in Canada or in the United States or anywhere it gets cold. We're gonna do the quick checklist of everything that you need to do to prep your WRX for a couple reasons. And before you click off, because you're like, this guy is absolutely stupid, you don't need to do anything, and I take perfect care. The only reason you should be listening to me is, one, if you wanna keep your WRX for a long time and not have issues, if you wanna prevent your WRX from getting rusty, even if you don't live in the Rust Belt, the stuff that goes on the road, salt and other protectants, to cold weather, snow and ice, because even if it just gets cold where you are every once in a while, they probably put chemicals down to prevent cars from having problems. Those can all do damage in terms of rust and just other damage to your car, break seals, all kinds of stuff like that. It also just gets dirtier in the winter and people are less likely to clean their cars. So if you want to protect your very, very, very thin paint and very, very thin clear coat for the long term, this is what you should be doing. And also, just if you're like, I don't care about any of those, the only other thing that you can take away from this video is if you follow everything I talk about in this checklist, it'll be easier to clean your car. So at the very least, listen to that. And guys, button right below me, subscribe to the channel. Please consider subscribing. Just hit that button. It's the only free thing in the world that you can do is pressing that button and to follow the journey of my WRX, and you'll learn something in the process. Number one on our list, this is a really easy one. Protects the paint, protects your, well, it actually does a few things. It will protect your paint, it will protect your clear coat, it'll make your car easier to wash, and it will keep snow and ice from sticking to it. And this is a very easy thing to do, is completely wash your car. And we're starting with the stupid one. Don't click off the video. There's some more niche things that you can do to your car, but this is just do this one. This is like 60% of the work. Completely clean your car and then clay bar it. That does take a little bit of, you know, grease and arm sweat or whatever you want to call it. It's a little bit of effort. Completely clay bar your car, and then use a really, really high quality wax on your car, but correctly wax your car. So many people wax their car and they don't correctly wax it. If you correctly wax your car, it will create a barrier over the clear coat, act as a protective layer. It's not as good as putting like a clear bra on the car, but it legitimately, I mean, engineering and science backs this up, will create a protective layer. At the very least, it will create an unbondable surface for snow. So for a little bit of time, for a certain amount of snow and water, the car will repel it, which means it won't stick on the car. I live in Boston. I put wax in my car more in the winter than in the summer because it makes it so much easier to, one, clean it off, but it makes it harder for the snow to stick to the car. The same goes with salt and other crap from the road that gets on your paint. If you have a good protective layer of wax on it, you can just spray it off, right? And it won't damage the car, and it comes off with very low effort. How do you correctly wax it? You need to apply it with the correct tool to apply it. This means either pressure, force, circles, whatever. Don't put swirls in your car, but correct applications. Don't just wipe it on, and then let it completely haze over before wiping it off. Follow the instructions of your wax. Buy a high quality wax. It makes all the difference in the world. The next thing before we move is wheel and tire. This is obviously incredibly important, but for your wheels alone, often, even if you have stock wheels, it's worth protecting your wheels because wheels define the value of your car. I don't care what you say, that is the truth. The market, if you have bad wheels in your car, they're scuffed up, they're crappy, there's paint issues with them, it lowers the value of your car out of proportion to what your car is worth. It's crazy, but it is what it is. Wash your wheels. Do not let stuff cake up on your wheels because snow and ice will change the chemical balance of whatever's caked up on it. And you'd be surprised if you have powder coated wheels, stock wheels that are painted, whatever they are, even if you just have stock wheels, if you have a chemical that's got like, let's say you have a little dirt and grime on your wheel, it's in the corner of a crevice, some type of chemical from driving you know, just on the highway gets on it, whatever it is, and then you get some snow and ice that might change the properties of that chemical because of the temperature change, it might actually affect the wheel and eat part of it out. It's the #1 reason we see issues in the cold weather with wheels. If you've ever lived in a cold area and you've looked at tons of cars on the market, you will notice there are common issues with wheels and cracks and crevices and kind of degradation of the wheels, and it comes from that. It's the chemical change, and the properties of the change in chemicals can often have, you know, energy changes, thermal or whatever it be, and damage the wheels. It also makes them easier to clean. The next thing, as I absolutely freeze my butt off, is before the winter starts, which is absolutely right now, go to a place or jack your car up and clean the underside of it. Get rid of all bonding surfaces for stuff from the road to bond to the car. This is gonna be your best rust prevention. And it's not just cleaning your car after every storm, right? It's doing it in the first place. So the stuff that the municipalities, cities, and towns put down on the roads to protect the roads and protect drivers that are designed for your rubber to make contact with, they're not designed to stay on the underside of your car. Usually they will not, right? But if you have grime, grease, road grit adhered to the bottom of your car, those chemicals will get attached to those things, because those things, and dang, it's getting windy, because those things are designed to be on the road, which means the companies that create the chemicals and the salt products make them to stick to those things. They will then stick to the underside of your car and eventually have some type of chemical reaction, thermal reaction, you know, change of phase reaction, whatever it is. And that's how you create actual legitimate penetrating rust, and not just surface rust and other issues, especially around CV boots, you know, greased joints, all the things where penetration can be dangerous. Having grime and grit that can have those chemicals adhere to it are ways that you can have penetration issues, right? So just simply jacking your car up, putting it on jack stands, or going to a place where you can get the underside of it pressure washed or cleaned will make a world of difference. Doesn't have to be perfect, but just get the grime and stuff off the car. Same goes after major storms where you have a lot of kick up into the bottom of your car. Clean the underside. It will prevent issues in the long term. And the last one that almost nobody ever talks about, and it's something that's very important to protect against your wallet. We're not talking about car function here. We're talking about protecting your wallet. If you've owned a car, no matter how old that car is, and you don't pay attention to whether or not you have leaks in your taillights or your headlights, and if you're new to cars or you've never had to replace a taillight or headlight and you live under a rock, these are some of the most expensive things to replace on any car at any stage. They're so expensive to replace. Here's the deal. These things can leak even if they're like 6 months old. All it takes is one gap in the sealant, which happens from the factory. I see it all the time. I run an aftermarket parts shop. I do lots of headlight and taillight replacements. It just happens. It's an unfortunate thing. The older your car is, the more likely they are to leak, and the more UV, you know, rays your car is exposed to, the more likely they are to leak. If you have a leak, right, and there's a little bit of water either in the gasketing of it or inside of it, and it freezes, right? Obviously, when water freezes, it expands. You can do some serious damage to your housing, your ceiling housing, the actual gapping for the future if it rains, whatever it is. So what am I saying you should do? First off, check and monitor your headlights. If you are worried, go to AutoZone or a cheap store or Amazon and just buy a little either butanol sealant and reseal it, or some resealant. They make different things. At the very least, if you drive an old car, you can epoxy it. When I bought my first Hyundai Genesis Coupe, way back when, my first car is a 2014, I knew that I could, just based on the designs, throw a little bit of epoxy around it. Those headlights do not need to breathe, and protect myself in the long run, and I'm glad that I did it. But I also live in a pretty bad winter condition city, so sometimes you gotta do things like that. But protect your headlights and taillights, and that's basically the last thing. If you want, there are more niche things to the WRX itself in some of the other videos that I've made, but those are the big ones. Like, if you do those things, you're probably gonna be fine. This video is like one of those like kind of stupid videos that I don't love making because it's not really a lot of engineering, but it's a video that hopefully I will save some of you guys a few dollars. I'm freezing, it's 10 degrees. I can't feel my feet or my hands anymore. I'll see you guys in the next video.